Today's actually a pretty big day in my life. It actually officially marks 1 year that I've owned my GR86. And saying that loud is pretty absurd. I knew I was gonna own an 86 one day, but to me, it's been a dream to own an 86 for so long for me. And we're honestly and truly just getting started. Like I said, it's only been a year, and I have so much planned for this car and so much plans going forward with this car. But to really tell how my experience has been within this year, we're gonna have to rewind a little bit. The year is 2020, I'm about 16 or 17 at the time, and I'm actually still driving my 2015 Nissan Sentra, which some of you guys might actually be following me because of that car, which you guys are. I really appreciate it if you guys have been following me since that long. So since 2013, since the original FRS BRZ 86 platform was initially produced, that platform, the first generation, has always had a soft spot in my heart. It's been my dream car to own for so long, and I still really would like to own one of the first gens. When I get the opportunity to buy one of those, I would honestly love to. I had a goal for myself that when I finished high school, I wanted to be able to acquire my dream car, which was a Toyota 86. At the time, the first generation GT86 BRZs and FRSs were honestly the only 86s that you could get, because the Gen 2s weren't produced yet, they weren't made yet, and they were honestly just a rumor. And there were some renders online back in like 2020-ish, 2021, that people were putting out online saying that there was going to be a new generation 86, and I didn't know whether or not to believe it. I didn't really know whether or not it was true until officially in 2022, when Toyota and Subaru announced that they were going to be making a new generation 86 and BRZ, and I was really honestly super excited to see what it was going to end up looking like. When the first like pictures and renders of what the official car was going to look like came out, I was a little skeptical, I'm not going to lie, about how it looked. I didn't really think it looked that great, and the like the conversations that people were having about the taillights in the back when they first initially came out, thinking that they looked like Honda Civic taillights, and all that stuff honestly kind of got to me. I didn't really enjoy the look of these cars completely stock all that much until I finally had the opportunity to see one of them in person driving on the road, which I thought was so cool. And I thought it was just so cool to be able to see a new generation 86, one of my dream cars, finally being out into the public, and being able to see that on the road was a pretty cool experience. At the beginning of 2022, it was my final months being a high schooler, and the car economy, or like the economy in general, was ridiculous. The housing market was insane, the gas prices were ridiculously priced, the car market was nuts. I don't even want to get started on that. No matter what, it's still crazy to this day, honestly, the car market. But it seemed like a smarter decision for me at the end of the day, where I could get a second generation 86 for honestly almost the exact same price that I could buy a 2020 Toyota GT86 that's already been used and abused and already had another owner before. So I figured it'd be smarter for me just to buy a brand new car for almost the identical price that a used car was. So that following March, I ended up placing my order for my 2023 Toyota GR86 in Neptune Blue with a 6-speed manual that you guys obviously see right here in front of you guys. So 7-8 months go by, and I'm sick and tired of waiting. I feel like I've been waiting for forever. And finally, my father and I get a call from the Toyota dealership where we were going to be purchasing the car from, and they let us know that the car was getting delivered and it should be here within the week. Every single day after that, I was counting down the minutes, waiting to get the opportunity to go drive to the dealership to be able to finally see it for the first time. And on September 4th of 2022, that day finally came. This is the day that my life honestly changed forever, and this was the day that also that I knew I was going to be happy no matter what else might have been going on in my life at the time. So finally, we're at the dealership, we're picking up the car, and I'm ecstatic, I'm so happy. And when buying a new car like this, we actually got the privilege of, they gave me the opportunity to get the windows tinted if I'd like, and of course I said yes, why wouldn't I? I actually had 15% on the windows all around, besides from the front windshield, which unfortunately they said that they couldn't tint, but they did however, put a sun strip on the front windshield, which was also 15%, which just honestly helps block out the sun just a little bit. I'd like to one day end up taking that sun strip off and actually tinting the entire front windshield, just maybe like 35%. Nothing too dark, but just to give a little bit of shade in the front of the car, I think would be nice. So technically, since day one of owning this car, I've been putting mods on it, and it's not gonna stop there. I'm planning to do so much more to this car as the time goes on. More and more companies started producing parts for this vehicle, and whether that was exhaust components or suspension or finally some engine modifications as well, as time went on, we started seeing more products, which was honestly pretty nice. But what made it nice about this 86 platform is they shared a lot of the same components as the first generation did. So going into this car, you were actually able to buy a lot of parts for the first gen, so that way you didn't have to wait for companies to make specific parts made just for the Gen 2 to come out that you might have been waiting on. You could actually buy first generation parts and throw them on your Gen 2 instead. If you guys know me, you guys would know that my all-time favorite mod that you guys can do to a car is exhaust modifications. I ended up doing a ton of research over a span of like a month, trying to decide truly on what I feel the best exhaust catback that I could go with for this car would be. And I honestly, to this day, still feel like the exhaust that I went with is by far one of the best sounding catbacks that you could go with for this car, that being an AWE track catback exhaust. Not only do I love the looks of this catback exhaust, but it ultimately sounds incredible at all different RPM ranges, and I'm sure you guys can tell from the videos that I put out with this exhaust. It sounds absolutely incredible, and it sounds even better in person. I wouldn't say that I've technically done a lot within this span of the year of me owning this GR86, but I certainly have put a few good amount of parts of aftermarket parts onto this car. Of course, at first glance, you guys would notice the white Gremlin 57 CRs that I have on the car, as well as the BC Racing coilovers that give it that nice drop in suspension. Of course, I have the carbon fiber that I have spread throughout the car, the giant duckbill spoiler on the back, and of course the loud and amazing sounding AWE track catback that I have on this car. In the front of it, as you guys can tell probably from the most recent videos that I put out, I have the Velocitec Ram air intake on my car, as well as the Mod Society auto folding windows and mirror module as well on the car. Every part that I put on it, I've honestly fallen in love with, and I wouldn't change a single thing about it. And as you guys can probably tell, I haven't taken any of the things that I've gotten for this car or I've gotten for this car off anytime soon, besides to maybe fix it. So I've loved everything that I put onto the car recently. I absolutely love this car, and having the ability to be able to drive it every single day is honestly a blessing. I actually didn't start uploading videos on this car until probably about 6 months after owning it, which was probably around February time if I had to guess. Looking back on it now, I honestly wish I would have started right when I got in the car. That way you guys could have been here for the entire journey, but for those of you who have been here since February, it means so much to me that you guys have been with me throughout almost this entire year. It's crazy to think that it's already September, and I just appreciate all of you guys who have been watching and supporting me throughout this entire time. It means the world to me, honestly. There are so many things that I still dream about doing to this car that I know will become a reality one day. But speaking of things that I know that you should do to this car from previous experience of owning it within this year is having your RTV checked. Some of you guys might have actually watched the RTV cleanout video that I did. If you guys haven't already watched it, I'll leave an annotation to it above on the screen right over here. That way you guys can watch it after this video if you haven't already. I'm not gonna dive too much into it just because I know a lot of you guys are sick of hearing about it. But what it essentially is this RTV cleanout job is pretty much you have to drop the headers on your car, take out the lower oil pan. That way you guys can clean it out, make sure there's nothing like residual or metal shavings or whatever the case may be inside your oil pan, and then going up into the oil pickup tube inside the oil pan and just cleaning it out, making sure there's no residue or any RTV silicone that's just jumped up into there. If you guys had seen that video, you guys would know how bad my car was at 10,000 miles. It's a good thing that I did get it checked and cleaned out, I would probably be running into issues right now if I didn't get it checked. So I'm really happy that I did end up going that route. And it was just a smart decision to end up doing it. I know it's kind of tedious. It can be pretty expensive too, depending on where you go. I know Toyota wanted to charge about $1,000 plus if you were to take your car into them and have this job done for them. So I know it can be pretty expensive, but I 100% feel that it's worth you guys having your RGB pickup tube cleaned out. That way you can ensure the safety of your vehicle. So while we're on the topic of like maintenance and stuff like that, I figured I'd give you guys the cost to own a GR86. Now keep in mind, I do daily drive the car, but I fill up in gas every week to like week and a half, and it costs me about $40 to $45 or so. That's not too ridiculously priced, but I do fill up my car with 93, and 2 years ago it would have probably been half the price. With how much gas is right now, it's pretty expensive. As far as oil changes go, I know it can vary depending on whether you do the oil change or if you take it somewhere. On average, I know oil changes could cost anywhere from $50 to $100. When I was doing this oil change with a buddy of mine on my car, in the RTB video, I purchased 5.3 gallons of oil, which was required for this car, and it cost me about $50 to $60 for the oil. And then of course I had to buy a new oil filter and oil drain gasket, which was another $10 or $15. So I'd say it cost about $75-ish, I guess, to do your oil change on a car like this. So bearing those prices in mind, you only really need to do an oil change every 2, maybe 3 times a year, depending on how much you're driving. I know it's good to do an oil change every 4,000 to 5,000 miles, especially on a car like this, on a Subaru, where it maybe taking up a little bit more oil than it should. So I wouldn't say it's a horrible maintenance price to own one of these types of cars, but I do want you guys to, if you guys are in the market for one of these, of course keep all of that in mind before going out and buying one of these. So enough about RTB and all the maintenance costs and stuff like that. I want to give you guys my intentions going forward with this car. My goal is to, of course, one day have this car be forced induction, whether that's turbo or supercharger or whatever the case may be. I'd love for this car to just be on forced induction one day. Just have that extra power that it doesn't really need, but who doesn't love extra power in their car, honestly? I'm not looking for horsepower numbers all the way up to the moon with this thing. I know it's not made to do stuff like that. Dream horsepower numbers, I would love for it to be anywhere from like maybe 350 to 400. I feel like on a car that only weighs 2,800 pounds, this thing would absolutely fly down the roads, and it would be so much fun to drive. Whether that be in the corners or on a straight line, or even in like mountain roads, hopefully one day. I feel like this thing would be an absolute blast with a little bit of forced induction in it. Tail of the Dragon honestly would be a really cool experience that I'd love to do. And it's kind of unfortunate because when I bought this car, it actually, for those of you who might have been unaware, when you buy a brand new GR86, it actually comes with a 1-year membership of NASA, like NASA membership, and that actually grants you access to go to a local racetrack in your area and gives you a free track day for 1 day. It lets you take your car out and drive your local tracks. And my local tracks would have been like Sebring and stuff like that. And unfortunately, the year has already passed, and I never had the opportunity to be able to do that within the span of a year. But I would honestly love to be able to still have that opportunity to take my car out to a track nearby, or drive the however many hours to Tail of the Dragon, just to see how well and how it compares to other cars in its class. As far as looks go in this car, I know some of you guys might have heard me mention it before in some of my videos. If I plan to keep it stock body, the goal is to have the full TRD kit paint matched to the color of my car. I feel like that kit just looks so nice in my opinion. And if I ever plan to go wide body, there really isn't too many companies that have a kit that I'm absolutely in love with yet. But if I had to choose one at the current moment in time, I'd probably go with Street Hunter. Their wide body kit just looks really nice to me in my opinion. I love the molded look. If I were to go wide body, I'd for sure go molded. I wouldn't want to have all like the rivets on my car. I feel like, not that that looks bad, but I just love the classy look of the molded fenders, especially when you're wide body, super wide too. I just think it looks really nice and really classy. Every second, minute that I've owned this car, I've absolutely loved, and I wouldn't change a single thing about it. And this car has helped me learn so many new things that I didn't know before, and has allowed me to meet so many new people, and allowed me to go so many new places that I haven't been before. This car, whenever I go to car meets, people are always coming up to me saying how much they enjoy it and how much they love the look of the car. And even people who might own 86s, I've met and become great friends with now just because I own this car. So having this car in my life, this 86, has been a blessing. So with all this, I'm sure you guys can probably tell that within the year of me owning my 86, I've loved it absolutely every second of it. So there's really nothing that I can have or say that I can complain about this car. If you guys found this video helpful in any way, please make sure to give it a like down below. It helps me out so much. Subscribe if you guys are new, that way you guys can stay up to date on all the content that I'm always putting out for my 86. And leave a comment down below. I'm always reading all the comments and I'm trying to reply to as many of them always as I can. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace.